Hello, my friends. Hello, hello. I am going to offer a short-ish live session on micro movement and interoception for meditators. So often people have, certain intelligences. And if you spend a lot of time meditating in stillness, you probably have a good amount of awareness already built up and a certain sort of stability built up in your practice. So what I'm going to offer is to destabilize your body to bring more awareness into your body as you're meditating. So often there's a lot of different styles where we meditate on parts of the body and feeling the body. In this, it's totally going to be about feeling the movement of the body. And we're going to work into interoception, that is feeling your breath, maybe feeling your heartbeat, feeling what's happening inside your body. And we will also work with your proprioceptive awareness. So, like if I close my eyes and I can touch my nose, that's proprioceptive awareness. My kinesthetic awareness is my awareness of my movement in the space around me. And this is something that most people haven't spent a lot of time thinking about or building up. So, this is the invitation to tune into these things. And I'm going to teach you a few different breaths. So, the first breath that we're going to work with is from Continuum, and it is called the Theta Breath, and it's a soft hiss. So, it's like a soft, very soft hiss or a soft TH. Your tongue is right behind your teeth. It could be or probably my earbuds are going to take out the sound. So you're just going to have to imagine it. You don't have to make it last forever, but you can let it last as long as it feels comfortable. You can take resting breaths whenever you need them. But this breath is just going to allow us to enter into sensation in our bodies. So coming into feeling what it's like to be inside today. And I want to also invite that you aren't locking down the system. We're not going, okay, I'm going to stand still, I'm going to be rigid. We are inviting the participation of like the fluidity of our bodies. So as we're going into this space, there's this invitation to allow movement. And it might just be that you feel the rise and fall of your breath. But I'm going to ask you just to nudge it a little bit more. Imagine your spine is like a river and that whole nervous system is being bathed in that river. So from your spine down through your spine, from your brain down through your spinal cord out into your body, just imagining this whole fluid system sort of bathing in there. You could imagine like you're at the edge of the water and the water is just gently like on the ocean beach and the water is just gently rocking you. Hopefully it's warm, it's not crashing you around, but that could be interesting too. So we're going to work with Theta Breath, and you can watch me and participate in whatever way feels good. So this is an eyes open or closed. You're going to feel more into yourself with your eyes closed, but you won't be able to see what I'm doing. And so in a weird way, what we're doing is creating this field, this energetic field of openness that when I go into movement meditation, I feel like this different space, this different sense of spaciousness. So we are going to work with a theta breath, any kind of micro movement that arises. Theta is the soft hiss. And we'll just do that for a couple of minutes right now. Encouraging movement, encouraging the internal flow of your whole system so that inside all sorts of movement is happening. Now you're just allowing it to come into awareness and amplify slightly. So we'll go with that for a couple of minutes. I also want to invite in this idea that your spine is like a curious snake. Like, what is possible? Not that we're going for any kind of massive, like, yogic event here or stretching dance movement, but really small internal shape flow adjustments, little adjustments of the shape and flow inside your body. when I start to feel into myself, I become very aware of the relationship of my head to my torso. I become very aware of my neck. And as I start to feel in and tune into that breath, I become aware of the back space. And I often feel like the whole of my inner body just leans into the back of my body. So, and then there's all sorts of small adjustments happening within that. And it doesn't mean you can't have any kind of sense of muscular action. That could be happening. It could be interesting or interesting to follow, but it could also just be like, it's just the fluid moving. It's just tiny, simple, easy movement. We've spent our lives learning to inhibit movement. So now we're just inviting it to come back online. So there's this whole idea of motor babbling that machines do these like learning to do a new skill. The machine does this motor babbling. Think of this motor babbling as you coming into this body for the first time and seeing what is possible. How can this body move? How can it shift? So you're tuning in with complete interest into the sensation of being inside this human body. You could imagine that you're an alien who's just come into this human body for the first time. It's like, what's going on? What is this in here? How can I do things? So it's this curiosity and awareness that are dancing together. And then this breath, the theta breath, giving us one extra focal point. If that becomes tiring, that theta breath is kind of exhausting, just don't do it. Breathe regularly, resting breaths, any kind of other breath. So, which ways can we go? How can we move with this micro movement? How can we motor babble to free up whatever holding patterns that we've taken on to be us, right? So, I'm a good person. I'm going to be quiet. I'm going to be still. I'm not going to say anything. But what if we let some of that go? And like you could make noise, you could move. What things are hanging out in your body just waiting to express? Are there some little spiral movements, some twists, some curls? Maybe the whole system wants to like enfold into itself. Maybe that is what your body is asking for. Or maybe it wants to like unfurl and open. So these are all possibilities. And there's really no right and wrong. It's about just awakening to the possibility of bringing movement and life through movement into your body, right? What happens when there's no movement in the water? It becomes stagnant. What if I let that watery movement into my body? I start to hydrate tissue. I start to free up holding patterns. I start to open up possibilities of being that I've nailed down, right? In our culture, we learn not to shake, don't quake with fear. So, what happens to that fear? I hold it in. Don't cry, don't laugh, don't do those things. What happens to that? I hold it in. What happens to my nervous system when I hold that stuff in? So, this is an invitation to let that holding just melt apart, melt away. You can be very different than you've ever been before. And if it becomes uncomfortable, just come back to stillness, come back to what you know. We can play with twisting, arching, curling, spirals, the up downness of our bodies, the forward backness of our bodies, the depth, the length. So let's add another breath. It's going to be like an aspirated breath where we just are letting any kind of free flow sounds come out of our mouth. We can imagine that our mouth is like a cave. Maybe a cave next to the water's edge. So as the water comes in and kind of bangs against the edges of the cave, there's different sounds. So this is really an invitation to play, right? When we play, when we babble, when we act childlike or baby-like, then we have the capacity to start freeing up some of the restrictive adult shit that we've been holding on to. Feeling what it feels like in there. And maybe you find some place that, oh, I have this pain here. It's so easy for me to feel that pain. If I keep going back to it, I can really feel inside my body. So if that's you, which I have one right here that I can really feel, and I try actually not to spend much time thinking about it. I try to feel into what feels good. What part is delicious and yummy? What can I feel? Like my hands feel kind of cold. I can feel my um, cashmere sweater on my arms, and I can feel that the wool, even though it's soft, is just a little bit scratchy also. I can feel the ripples and waves in my spine. I can feel some tension in my shoulders that I can amplify. And then I can sort of break through it a little bit. I can keep playing with that, like, oh, there's this thing going on. Can I move it somewhere else? Maybe taking it bigger and bigger until, oh, I let that break apart and fall open. So this is really deliciousness practice also. Or sometimes there's been so much holding and you start to let it go that it's like, oh my God, there's so much there. And we like are just moved to tears. That happens too. And that just means that there's stuff inside you that needs to process. Forgive yourself. Compassion, right? You can take a hand on your heart or on your chest, a hand on your belly, and just hold yourself. It's okay. It's okay. I'm okay right now. I'm just feeling into movement. For me, most of the time it isn't an emotional event. Sometimes it is, but most of the time it's just exploring new territory or exploring old territory. The invitation is to keep moving towards novel movement. So we're not just going, here's this movement, I know it, I'm going to do it over and over again. We're going to move into things that are unfamiliar, novel movement. That's when we're going to start to be able to crack things off and shift and bring the awareness really online. Like, oh, what's this? I can feel this lifting up in one part of my body, but I can also feel a sinking down in another part of my body. And my belly is doing all sorts of movement. I can let that ripple and wave. So in the world of continuum, they talk about wave-like and tentacle movement. So invite the full octopus body in. Yeah, the more that we can embrace the unknown in our own body and experiencing what is going on, what am I feeling in there? Without even having to name, fix, or change, just tuning into sensation. I can feel tension in my jaw, so I relax my tongue. I can turn my head and I can add that breath. And when I add that breath, like I have all this different awareness of stuff in my face, like, and my face wants to do different things. So if I start to allow the holding pattern of my lower ward face to free up, I can let all sorts of things happen. And in a weird way, we could talk about this as our nervous system unfolding and just releasing some stuff. So maybe we need therapy. Maybe we need to talk to our friends. Maybe we need to sort through things. Maybe we need all sorts of other stuff. But we can also sometimes allow some of this stuff to process in a very, I want to say, it's not impersonal, but it is kind of impersonal. It's like I'm just letting my body do the stuff. I'm just letting it happen. And if I sort of give my nervous system the permission to release and unwind, like all sorts of weird shit can happen in what it looks like, what it feels like. Sometimes it's shaky. If you want to learn more about that, like David Berceli has a ton of videos and information on like releasing. And it's like you just let your nervous system start to do things and then it starts to do things. It's always easy to re-inhibit. You have spent a lifetime learning how to inhibit movement, how to inhibit the things you're going to say. So you can always come back to that. Never fear. That's always there for you. The support of being like, just going to come back to nothing. How's that? And sometimes we want to come back into stillness to process all of this activity that's been going on. So for me, generally, it feels really good to stay in the movement. And I don't want to stop. I just want to stay in here. But this may be very different for you. You may be like, oh, I just need a few minutes of just letting my body go, oh, I just did all this movement. Let me just sit with that for a few minutes. As I slow it down and start to sit with it, I feel this shifting up my spine, up the back of my neck, like this whole other thing happens. And then this deliciousness in there, inside, like the membranes of my head, my cerebellum tentorum, the little one inside there. There's this sense of expansion when I go slower and smaller. Interesting. So, inviting yourself into the river of the life energy in you without shutting it down. The river of your nervous system, which is routed through your fascia. So, any movement of the fascia and the nervous system are going to go, oh, 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 are we doing something? Is this happening? There's going to be this loop, right? And we can do it very free. It doesn't have to be this big muscular event. But sometimes it feels good to be a big muscular event. So you can play with that. Keep coming back inside. What is going on in here? What am I feeling? Where is my awareness? And as I'm in there, it can be very expansive, being all over the place in multiple places, which we would call indirect space in Laban, or it can be very pinpointed and focused. Oh, it's right here. It's in that pain point. But even as I start to feel that pain point, I start to feel all this other activity happening all around it. So I can focus on the pain, but then I can be aware of, oh, what else is going on in there? What else is happening? Hmm. Yeah, letting yourself sigh, bringing in any kind of hum, yummy, especially if things are feeling weird and awkward. Try like a You could even go It's like you're eating your and you're letting your lips move. And it kind of sounds like a baby saying mama, mama, mama. Ha. So there's a lot of different sounds which are going to affect the tissue differently because of the vibration, but they're also going to affect how we feel on like a psychological level, on all these other, like when I make those I can also just imagine the deliciousness of all of this. Ooh. Ha. The ha sound is like, oh, I can let go of something. And when I make those sounds without a vocal, I come into this awareness inside my head, and I want to say the energy system, the energy pattern of my body, which is very delicious and satisfying. Yeah, so those are just some of the elements of playing with micro movement to bring in more awareness into your body. You can have all that awareness and then go, okay, now I can sit with that. What's happening now? And I want to also say that this is delightful for people who have dance training and people who are movers who feel like they can't sit still. Just add some micro movement. Make it small, slow it down. If it becomes kind of nervous system jittery, shaky, that's okay. You can always inhibit it again. You can always rein it in. Yeah, so when I close my eyes, also this awareness of the back body comes in like a wave. Allowing any kind of movement to bubble up. Anything that feels good. And you could also do this laying down. You could do this standing. I like to start seated and then often move to the floor. I'm just going to stay seated in this session just to be present with you who may see this in the future. I think I have one person who is here with me now. Ha. And what is the point of all of this? What is the point? What's the point of any of it? I can't say what the point is for you, but I can say what the point is for me. The point for me is to find the support within my own system of being alive on this planet, of being a human here in a body. That's one of the big important points. The other Another point is the pleasure and awareness practice of just being fully in, and allowing stuff that's been stuck in there to bubble up and to start to just release. What things am I holding on to that I could let go of? And if you feel like you kind of know where you're going, don't go there, right? So if you feel like, oh, here, I'm going to go there, then, oh, try something else. Eventually, your body will just start to do it, and you won't have to think about where is it going, what's happening. Your body will just take over if you spend time with it, if you allow, So this is really about allowing, a little nudge, and curiosity. What's this feel like? What's happening? Becoming present to yourself, becoming alive within your own system. You're inviting on in a coherence of the systems. And we know that sitting is the new smoking. So even if you were like at your desk all day or whatever you do, computering, screening, whatever it is, if you just take a minute and like, ha, feel into your own body, feel what it feels like to be you today, right here, right now, and give it some little bit of movement. I just had this image of like a salt shaker, just salting yourself, like letting the little grains trickle down, like sprinkling into yourself. Or maybe it's coming up, maybe it's the champagne bubbles rising. Or maybe it's like really slow, like molasses mud. Whatever the images are that come to you, note them and then let it go, because then it might change to something else. It might just be steam. Yeah, so we're tuning in. Let's go back in and just feel what you're feeling. Has anything new popped up? Is anything coming alive in your system? What is going on right now? What are you feeling in there? Yeah, so that is that. I've got a little teeny cat coming in to visit me right now. Right here is Zazen, who is also known as Squeaky Deaky. Yeah, we named him Zazen because he seemed like the most chill cat, but it turned out to be wrong. So yeah, if you have questions, feel free to pop them in the chat or put them in the comments section later, and I will be sure to answer questions. So if you're curious about these practices, if you want to know other resources where you could find an actual class where you could do some of this type of work, let me know. I do teach on Zoom. You could be in an actual screen room with a bunch of other people, but you're all doing your own thing. And then the other thing is I have a Patreon, which of course can I put it in the thing? Oh, watch this. I bet I can. I can even do this. The amazing modern conveniences, if I can figure out how to do it. Yeah. So I have a Patreon. If you are interested in contributing to this content, feel free to hit me up on Patreon. And I want to thank you, my one person who showed up. Heather, it's you. How awesome. Yay. Nice to see you. Sweet. Yeah, that's so sweet. All right. Well, I'm going to close it out. And thank you. Ending my stream.